Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I'm here to share with you guys a process video on how I created the super cute card made with some Inky Antics stamps that I've had in my stash for years. I'm embarrassed to say that I just rediscovered these when I was going through my stash for the de-stash videos that I put up a couple of days ago, and I had so much fun with these little cuties. The stamp set is called Balloon Buddies, and first of all, I start by creating the inside of the card. And what I've done is I've created a handmade stencil just by cutting some arches into some kind of thick cardstock. And I did it on two sides of this little strip of cardstock just so that I could get different cloud formations on this entire background. And I'm blending on some Tim Holtz Distress ink in tumbled glass, which I think is a little bit softer. I find that the Distress inks are a little bit softer and less opaque than the Distress oxide inks. And I'm just alternating the sides of this stencil so that I get different cloud formations, meaning that I don't get the cloud formations lining up exactly the same one row after another. And I'm just kind of taking my time blending on a little bit of this pale blue to create the sense of a cloud-filled sky. Now, unfortunately, I was taking a shortcut and I didn't tape down my cardstock, so you see it slipping a little bit there, but luckily I hadn't gotten too far and it didn't ruin the clouds. That's it for the inside of the card for the entire background. Now I have some Fisker's punches for clouds, and I punched out some big ones and some small ones. Actually, it's an extra large and a large according to Fisker's, but I think that one might be considered large and one kind of medium or small. And I'm just blending on a tiny bit of that tumbled glass onto the edges of the clouds so that they show up a little bit. Now I've glued a few of them together to create one little cloud bank, and I'm stamping out the sentiment, but just one word at a time so that one word is on each little cloud. So the sentiment on the front of the card is going to say just a note, and I'm taking my time just to ink up one little letter here, and I do it again because these stamps I think are acrylic, so they're a little bit more mushy and are less clear, so it's better to just repeat stamp if you have a stamping tool like this, Misty, that I'm using. Now the last word is note, and again I'm just trying to space it out so that each cloud has a single word, and I have got a plan for this little cloud bank on the front of the card. So I'm stamping out each word again for the second time, and then off camera I just write ... with a marker at the end of that little sentiment. Now for a little bit of Copic coloring. These two little wild critters are from the Inky Antics Balloon Buddies stamp set, and I'm just coloring each of them up relatively simply. I'm using 3 colors for this little tiger in the E family, and I'm just trying to figure out where I think the shadows would be on this little guy. I thought around his temples, under his chin, his little cheeks, under his head, and then maybe at the base of his little ears. And then I'm blending out with the next color up, which is the E95. And all of this, of course, was after I had put down a base layer of the lightest color, E93. And I'm just going to go back in and blend it out, trying to keep the center of his muzzle and the top of his head a little bit lighter. Now I'm reestablishing the shadows because as you blend out the lighter colors, it kind of bleaches out the darker ink, and I wanted to make sure that it has a full range of that light to dark shadow highlight kind of look. Now for the elephant, I'm putting in a base color of the lightest color, which is W1 at this point. I think later on I end up switching to a W0, but that's really because this W1 marker is almost running out of ink. I'm just trying to, again, establish where I think the shadows are. This is kind of the experimental stage. And then now I'm really putting in those shadows. This is the W5, which looks super dark here, but don't worry. This will get blended out soon enough. I'm just trying to establish the shadows around his temples again, right at where his trunk meets his forehead, right around his eyes, under his cheeks, under his head, under his ears for the cast shadow, and under his trunk. And now I'm going to go in and blend in with the next color down, which is W3. And you'll see that it looks very sketchy in this at this stage, but that's just because I haven't blended everything out yet. I'm going back in now with a W1 and blending out a little bit. I decide I'm going to make his ears pink, but I want to make sure there's a little bit of shadow in there too. So I did use that W1, and then now I'm going with the W0 because off camera I have reloaded that W1 and I'm ready, waiting for the marker to equalize. Now with an R20, I decide to put in some blush on their cheeks, inside their ears, and it's funny to me that this R20 is reading very close to the E93 and 95 in the tiger, but it's okay. There's a little hint more of that rosy color in this R20, so I think the blush is still showing up, although maybe it's not being captured very well in the camera because of the shadow from my hand as I'm coloring. And I'm just blending out a little bit more, kind of going back in, making sure that I'm not having super dark areas or super bleached out areas. There I was just reestablishing the darker shadows, and now I'm blending out with a W3. And I want to make sure that his forehead looks really rounded, as does the kind of top of the trunk. Now, so that the elephant and the tiger can look like they're kind of hugging or tucked behind, peeking over, as it were, the cloud bank, I'm using an X-Acto blade to cut out the bottom of that trunk. But it looks a little funny to me. I actually want the trunk to be hugging the entire cloud at the top there of the cloud bank. So I am cutting out another little bit on the top side of the trunk, and now it looks like they're really tucked around that cloud bank. Now I'm using this rainbow pattern paper and I'm stamping out the image on that. That's just for the little wisps of hair at the top of the elephant. I'm going to be placing over top of this inked image the entire assembly that I'd just been working on. And I just wanted to make sure that those little cute little wisps at the top of his head would show up. And obviously fussy cutting that out would have been near impossible. So this was a great alternative to get those little wisps in. And now I'm just making sure that the Copic colored and fussy cut out critters are placed exactly over that stamped image on that rainbow pattern paper. I'm cutting off the excess on the left side there because I'm going to be gluing this entire piece or assembly onto a card front in this kind of pale green, which I thought was a great match for the leftmost stripe there. Now for going back to the card base, I'm just scoring it down the middle, and I'm going to put that card front and adhere that to this card base. And I'm just using my ATG gun here to make sure that I have adhesive all the way to the edge of this card base. Now, I also wanted to make sure that these two little critters that I colored off camera are actually scored and folded right down the middle so that they can be suspended in air in this, background of clouds, but fold right down the middle so that I could get the honeycomb balloon. Now this little stamp here is part of the set, and all I'm doing is stamping it out onto this honeycomb paper, which you can buy from Inky Antics or from other brands as well. In my blog post and in the description box below, I'll put a link to a couple of places where you can get these in a variety of colors, and I think they're so fun. I mean, I think it would work pretty much for any image that is kind of symmetrical on both sides. I'm going to experiment with that, and I have some ideas for some holiday cards. I'm putting this first honeycomb, and look how cute that is all opened up, but I decided I wanted more colors, so I'm going to stamp out that little template onto two more colors of this honeycomb paper in blue as well as yellow. I just wanted the card inside to be more festive, more party-like, and I thought adding more colors would do that. Now, mind you, this can reach across a full 180 degrees, so the card can be fully opened with just one. So adding 3 will add some bulk. I'm gluing that blue little packet to the red packet, and you can see now it's got 2 colors, and I'm going to go ahead and do the third. And I wasn't thinking about how much bulk it was going to add and how difficult it was going to be to close the card at this point. I just really liked all the colors. You might want to do a card like this more with a gusset down the middle. I don't know. But this worked okay because I'm going to tell you how I adjusted the card to make this work with the 3 different colors of honeycomb paper. But isn't that fun? It's so festive. I love the 3 dimensions. I'm taking my McGill hole punch. This is a stitched ribbon punch. And basically I'm going through both the top and the bottom of the card base, and I'm going to loop some ribbon through and I'm going to tie it a little bow. So that's the closure, and that will ensure that the card actually closes so that everything is lined up. I'm going to just snip off the kind of frayed edge there, and this is the completed card. I think it came out super cute and it's really easy, and I have so many more ideas for this honeycomb paper. If you enjoyed this process video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in any stamp destashes, please check out my prior 2 videos. Prices have been reduced for a quick sale. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.